Let's talk about some coal protests that have been taking place in New South Wales recently. These idiots have got in the way of coal trains being able to take the product to port. And of course, we all know the importance of coal. Also, we know what happened with COP, that despite the want to kill it off, the reality was it was a slow fade out, kind of, maybe not really. Of course, was what India and China put in place. So the reality is our coal industry, certainly, the government's made it clear they're not turning it down anytime soon. So, well, a good outcome from where we have been a couple of weeks ago. Can we have a look at one of these idiot protesters, by the way?
All right, that's a few loadfuls, spade shovelfuls of toxic, dirty, filthy, polluting coal that won't be exported because I've just put it back in the earth. You too can be part of putting coal back in the earth.
Barnaby Joyce, well, this was almost a Bob Brown-sized gift for him today.
What you got happening here is our nation earning money. For each one of these that goes through, it's about $1 million in export dollars. It's about $100,000 in royalties. So what you got here is payments for your NDIS, you got payments for your pharmaceutical benefit scheme, you got payments for your pensions and for your unemployment benefits. There are people who say, well, I don't like a hole in the ground. Okay, get that. But there's nothing to replace that.
Now, of course, Joel, you've known this the whole time. We've talked about it in the role when it comes to the Labor Party and coal, but specifically these protesters deciding to try to disrupt batches that are making their way through. Reality is, legal product being legally shipped, their actions are what are illegal, yet they promise to be the continual irritant in the system. What would you do with the protesters?
I love it when Barnaby comes to my electorate highlighting the wonderful work I'm doing, earning all those export dollars for the nation.
How much coal did you dig up?
Plenty of moral support, Matt. That's what I give them, and that's the worst of the many crimes committed by these protesters. That is their disrespect for the people who put in long hours each day to win that coal on behalf of the nation. Look, there have to be tough fines for these people. I mean, you can't throw them in jail. That'll just cost the taxpayer more. But there had to be further disincentives. These people are not only hurting our reputation and being disrespectful to our coal miners and indeed to our farmers because they were disrupting grains exports as well, but they're causing safety concerns, not only for themselves, but for those who work in the cold chain, and of course for those who inevitably are called upon to rescue them when their protests go horribly wrong. But what that footage shows us is that some of these people are unhinged. They wouldn't know what a fossil fuel is. They wouldn't properly understand that there are a lot of poor people in places like India and China hoping to enjoy something like the wealth we enjoy today. And to do so, they'll need plenty of our relatively efficient coal and indeed gas. And as we all know, less Australian coal means more coal burned from another country, coal which is less efficient and will only drive pollution up.
Well, and also, Senator, let's be clear about what happened out of COP. For all of the hope, for all of the want, and by that I mean Radio National, the reality is that we're going to still have a place to send coal for a bloody long period of time. The government's been very clear they're not turning off the trade. Certainly any time, in the lead up to that 2030 number, what happens between 30 and 50, obviously we can always have a chat. But certainly for the next term of the government, there's no handbrake being put on coal.
That's right, Paul. And what we saw today was just a massive, big tantrum from a bunch of kids who didn't get their way in Glasgow. So they were all very hopeful that Glasgow would somehow end the coal industry. They didn't get that. There's been tears, there's been tantrums, and very soon there'll be lots of disappointment when it becomes clear that that Australian coal is going to be in record demand for decades to come. We can see that right now. They've got lots of trains to stop right now, record numbers of trains, because people can't get enough of Australian coal. And we constantly hear that the industry is dead, yet when the evidence comes in, we see more and more people wanting it. And that is because, as Joel said, people in India want to have reliable energy. Guess what? They want to have what we've got, what we take for granted, which is a coal-fired power network that keeps the lights on. They don't have that over there.
Yeah, but Matt,
and worse things. That's what is going to happen.
Yeah, Matt, it's all very well to say that, but why weren't you at COP26 saying that? Instead, we had a Prime Minister at COP26. We had an Energy Minister at COP26. Yes, no one was saying what you're just saying. No one was saying what Joel Fitzgibbon is saying. Instead, we had a Prime Minister and an Energy Minister there at an event, at a global event on a global stage, where the underlying philosophy was no different to those loonies that we just saw.
But wasn't the end result what Matt had always been arguing for?
Philosophy.
Well, it was a national shame, I agree, Rowan, that we didn't stand with India here. Well, from reports that I've read and heard, that India were the sort of one holdout, flying the flag for coal. And
but we can't,
we didn't support them, which was mad. Because
we cannot
there's a broader point here. Rowan, you've made there's a broader point here that we seem to be lining up with the British here, and we've done AUKUS and all that, but let's be frank here, the Brits don't live in our region. Even when they had a big presence here, they upped and deserted Singapore at the first sign of grape shot because they were fighting for themselves. They're not part of our region. Whatever our history is, our future is not with Britain. And yet we left India, which should be one of our major friends, major allies going forward. We let them take all the bullets and the criticism and not be with them side by side. And I think that was a big mistake and a missed opportunity.
I agree wholeheartedly.